It began on a night when snow fell on Chicago for the first time in decades, a freak storm that silenced the city and buried its streets in white. But while the world paused in wonder, one woman sat barefoot on the frozen pavement, her dress torn, her hands trembling, and her soul completely shattered. She was once called a prodigy. Now Emily Carter had nothing but a coat older than her dreams and a piano piece she could no longer finish. Just as she whispered to the darkness, "I have nothing left," a man in a tailored coat stepped out of the snow and silently offered her his hand. He didn't ask who she was. He didn't know. Or did he? What followed wasn't just a rescue. It was the beginning of an unraveling of secret second chances and a love story born not from perfection, but from pain. Why did this stranger care? Who was he really, and how did a forgotten melody connect them in a way that would shake the foundations of everything they thought they knew? Stay with us. This story will make you question fate, forgiveness, and the quiet, powerful moments that change lives forever. "Leave me alone, I have nothing left," she screamed, her voice trembling as icy winds whipped around her. Emily Carter crouched on the sidewalk of a frozen Chicago street, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, her tears crystallizing before they could fall. It was the first snowstorm in decades, a freak weather event that paralyzed the city. But for Emily, the cold outside was nothing compared to the storm inside. Once hailed as a piano prodigy, she now had no home, no family, and no future. Hours ago, her landlord had changed the locks. Then a dishonest cab driver drove off with the last of her belongings. Life had turned on her without warning, and now she was barefoot, her thin cream dress hidden beneath a tattered green coat that once belonged to her grandmother. Out of the swirling snow, a man approached. His coat was sleek, his stance confident, but his expression was concerned. "I don't want to hurt you," he said gently. "I just can't leave you out here like this." Emily blinked, trying to process the words. Was he real or a hallucination born of frostbite? "My name is Daniel Whitmore," he said, kneeling beside her. That name, it meant nothing to her. Just another man with good intentions, maybe, or maybe not. Still, something in his voice cut through her despair. "I have a car, I can take you somewhere safe. Just for tonight, you don't know what I've lost," she whispered. "And you don't know what life still has planned for you," he replied with a soft smile. The snow was now soaking through her dress. Emily hesitated, but what choice did she have? "Just tonight," she mumbled as she tried to stand. Her legs gave out. Daniel caught her before she hit the ground and gently wrapped his coat around her shaking frame. "Aren't you going to freeze now?" she asked, startled by the gesture. "I'm not the one barefoot in a snowstorm," he said, forcing a half smile. She barely registered the luxury car that waited by the curb, a black sedan gleaming even under the white frost. As he opened the door, she paused. "Where are you taking me?" "To the Whitmore Grand Hotel. My family owns it," he answered. "You'll be safe there. I promise." Her breath caught. That name, it echoed in her memory. That hotel was the site of her final performance 5 years ago. The last time she'd felt alive. The last time she could move her right hand without pain. A drunk driver had taken that from her. Was this fate? Or some cruel trick? Inside the heated car, silence settled between them. Emily stared out the window as snow blurred the world outside. She was 28, once called the brightest classical piano talent in America. Now she didn't even own a pair of shoes, arriving at the hotel. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The Art Deco grandeur hadn't changed. As they entered the lobby, she saw them storm-stranded guests sipping hot drinks and waiting for public transport to resume. And then she saw it. Under a spotlight in the center of the room stood a grand Steinway piano, the very one she had played that night years ago. The night everything unraveled. Her legs froze. Her hands twitched with memory. Was it grief? Longing? "Are you okay?" Daniel asked, noticing her pause. Before she could reply, a sharply dressed man approached. "Daniel, your father is waiting for the investor meeting." The man's eyes fell on Emily. "She's a special guest," Daniel said calmly. "Please prepare a room for Ms. Carter." The man looked confused but nodded. As they waited at the front desk, Emily's gaze returned to the piano. "Do you like music?" Daniel asked. "I used to," she said. "My mother once heard a pianist play a melody here." She said she never forgot it, Daniel said casually. Emily's stomach clenched. She had played a private piece for an elegant woman that night, a melody never performed again, coincidence or something more. A hotel assistant named Rachel Green returned with a room key, Suite 512. She said, "One of our finest." "This is too much," Emily protested. "Not for someone I invited," Daniel replied. In the elevator, Emily glanced at him. Who was this man? And why was he being so kind? Was it pity or something deeper? Could you trust someone who showed up like a savior in your lowest moment? Or should you be wary? That night, as she lay on the warm hotel bed, staring at her frostbitten feet, in the green coat on the chair, Emily asked herself a question she hadn't dared consider in years. Could this be a beginning, and not just a pause before the end? She didn't know it yet. But the man who had saved her was carrying a wound of his own, and the connection between them would soon unravel a secret that had been buried for years. But before we dive deeper into Emily's unexpected second chance, I want to thank you for following this emotional journey so far and apologize for interrupting right here. What do you think Daniel's real intentions are? Could this be love, guilt, or something even more mysterious? And if you were in Emily's shoes, would you accept a stranger's help in a moment of desperation or walk away out of fear? Tell us in the comments and let us know what country you're watching from. If this story has touched you even a little, please drop a like and a heart to support it. Your engagement keeps these human stories alive. For weeks, Emily Carter tried to blend into the rhythm of the Whitmore Grand Hotel. Each morning, she stood behind the front desk, dressed in clothes she never could have afforded on her own. Each night, when the guests were asleep and the lobby dimmed, she'd wander over to the Grand Steinway. She never meant to touch it, but her fingers, at least the ones that still worked, had a mind of their own. She played quietly, cautiously, her left hand dancing, her right faltering. The melody was never whole, and maybe that's what haunted her the most. She didn't know that Daniel Whitmore sometimes watched her from his office upstairs, eyes fixed on the screen where security footage flickered in black and white. He never interrupted. Not yet. Then came the night he finally did. "You don't have to stop," he said softly, walking into the room as she jumped to her feet. "Please don't. I shouldn't be touching it." "I didn't ask for permission," Emily stammered, pulling her hand away from the keys. Daniel stepped closer, his eyes lingering on her trembling right hand. "What happened to it?" There was a pause. Long, fragile. 5 years ago, she whispered. "I was on my way to a performance. The biggest one of my life. A drunk driver ran a red light. I lost most of the mobility in this hand." Daniel didn't speak. He just reached forward and gently held her injured hand in his. "Does it still hurt?" "Only when I remember who I used to be that night on the hotel rooftop beneath a sky bursting with stars and silence." Emily opened up about her lost career, and Daniel revealed his own hidden truth. "I've never wanted the empire," he said, showing her his phone. Photo after photo appeared street artists, old jazz musicians, dancers with crooked spines but blazing souls. "I want to capture beauty, not build it." "But your father," Emily started. "He doesn't see me," Daniel admitted. "Not for who I am." Isn't it strange how two people from such different worlds could carry the same ache? But they weren't alone. Behind closed doors, Vanessa Cole, the hotel's director, sat hunched over a glowing laptop. Her perfectly manicured fingers typed furiously into the search bar. Emily Carter, pianist. What she found made her heart stop. Articles, awards, headlines. And then, the photo. Emily, 5 years younger, bowing before a sold-out benefit concert held at this very hotel. Right behind her in the crowd, Margarita Whitmore. Daniel's late mother, Vanessa, printed the image and stared at it. This wasn't just a homeless woman Daniel had rescued. Emily Carter was someone who had vanished, someone connected to the Whitmore family in a way no one could have guessed. But was it a coincidence, or had Emily come back for something more? At the next investor dinner, Daniel invited Emily as his guest. She wore a midnight blue dress that Rachel, the hotel assistant, had brought to her room with a quiet smile and a note. "He thought you might need this." At first, Emily stood at the edge of the room, trying not to be noticed. But then one of the investors asked, "And you, Miss Carter?" "What are your passions?" Before she could answer, a voice rang out across the room like a gunshot. "My God, you're dining with Emily Carter, and you don't even know who she is." All heads turned. Vanessa stood at the entrance, a folder in hand. Slowly, deliberately, she placed photos in front of each guest. The pianist who stunned audiences in New York, who won Vienna's International Prize at 23, who disappeared after a car crash. "She's not a nobody," Vanessa said coldly. "She's a fallen star, and now she's back, living in your hotel, sleeping under your roof. Convenient, isn't it?" Silence froze the room. Daniel stood. "That's enough, Vanessa." But then a voice that no one expected broke through the tension. "She's the one," said Richard Whitmore, Daniel's father. His eyes were fixed on Emily, distant and warm. "You played for my wife that night. She spoke of your melody until her dying day. She said it healed something in her." Emily's cheeks flushed with shame and disbelief, nodded. "Yes, sir, I played a piece I never shared with anyone else. I called it Wordless." The room shifted. Something unspoken passed through everyone, something raw and undeniable. Later that night, Daniel took Emily by the hand and led her away from the guests. "I want to show you something," he said, opening a private suite. Inside stood a man with silver hair and kind eyes. "Emily, this is Dr. Andrew Kaplan. He's one of the leading specialists in hand reconstruction. He flew in from Boston this morning. He thinks there's a chance you could regain up to 80% of your movement." Emily couldn't breathe. Why would you do this?" "Because I watched you touch that piano like it still holds your soul," Daniel said. "Because I believe you were meant to play it again." But Emily stepped back, tears welling. "What if I fail? What if I go through all this and still can't be who I was? Then you'll be someone new, but not alone." Emily didn't answer. That night she packed her things quietly, left the dress folded on the bed, left a note. "Thank you for the night you saved me, but I can't afford to hope again. Some miracles aren't meant to happen twice." She slipped out the side door as dawn broke, and just like that, she was gone. Forgive me for pausing the story here, but Emily's disappearance is just the start of a deeper unraveling. Before we continue, do you believe in second chances, even when the first one almost destroyed you? And do you think Daniel should let her go? Or chase after her, even if she's already chosen to disappear? Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tell us what country you're watching from. If this story moved you, please drop a like and a heart. Your support means the world to us. 6 months had passed since Emily Carter vanished from the Whitmore Grand Hotel. No letters, no calls, no trace. But Daniel Whitmore never stopped looking. He transformed a forgotten wing of the hotel into a gallery, his first act of defiance against the empire his father built. The walls now displayed black and white portraits of street performers, broken violins, smiling painters with trembling hands. His theme art that refuses to die. "Impressive work," his father Richard said one afternoon, startling him. "Your mother would have been proud." Daniel blinked. Praise from Richard was rare. But perhaps people change when they realize what they almost lost. Then came a knock. Rachel Green, loyal and glowing, stepped in with a folder. "We found her," she whispered. Inside photographs, a town in Asheville, North Carolina, a woman sitting beneath a tree surrounded by children playing handmade instruments, and in the center, Emily smiling, strumming a guitar with her left hand. Daniel drove there 2 days later, heart pounding like a drum beat before a finale. As he approached the schoolyard, she looked up, their eyes locked, and for a moment time paused. "Why did you come?" Emily asked, her voice steadier than he expected. "I had to know you were okay." "I am," she said. "This is my place now." He hesitated. "Are you happy?" She looked around. Children laughed nearby, the air filled with soft music. "I'm at peace," she said. "But happiness, that's a different question." Then he pulled something from his bag, a folder from the Foundation for Injured Artists he had created in her honor. "We're offering surgeries, rehab, new tools. We already have 10 musicians back on stage. One has arthritis and plays with an adaptive device." She glanced through the papers. "You built all this. For me?" "No," he said, "because of you. But I came here today. For me, If you were in Daniel's shoes, would you press forward knowing she may not want to come back, or would you let her live the life she found? Emily returned to Boston a month later. She told no one. Her surgery was long, her recovery longer. Some days she could barely lift a fork. Others she managed a quart or two. But she had hope. For the first time in 5 years, she had hope. And then came the invitation, the 50th anniversary of the Whitmore Grand Hotel. Daniel hadn't written it, but she recognized his touch in every word. And the final line, "There's a piano waiting the night of the concert." The ballroom shimmered, every seat filled. The elite of Chicago, former guests, artists, investors. But Daniel sat still, scanning every doorway. She hadn't arrived until she did. Emily Carter walked into the room in a flowing green dress. Hair swept back, eyes steady. The room fell silent. And now the announcer said, returning after 6 years, the incomparable Emily Carter. She sat at the Steinway. Her left hand touched the keys first, confident, melodic. The right followed, shaky at first, then stronger. The piece was wordless, the composition she'd written but never completed. Now it was whole. Every note told a story of pain, of exile, of rebirth. And when the final chord echoed through the room, no one clapped. Not yet. They just breathed. Then came the roar. As she stood, Daniel approached the stage. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. "I needed to prove to myself that I could return not as someone broken, but as someone becoming." Just then, Vanessa Cole, once her rival, stepped up to the microphone. "I owe someone here an apology," she said, her voice steady. 3 months ago, I personally reached out to Dr. Miller to help fast-track Emily's treatment. She inspired a program I once dismissed, and I hope somehow I've made things right. Richard Whitmore followed Eyes Bright Tonight in honor of my wife, and this music that healed her soul. We dedicate a wing of the hotel to the foundation Daniel and Emily built. 10% of our profits will now support artists whose dreams deserve a second chance." Gasps, applause. But Daniel turned to Emily, holding something small. "A box. 3 years ago, I offered you my coat. Tonight I offer something else, inside a simple ring, a tiny engraved note curled around the band. The first bar of wordless, 'Will you marry me?' he asked. Tears welled in her eye, but this time they were full of joy. 'Yes,' she whispered. Outside the window, snow was falling again. In Chicago, in spring, as if the world remembered where their story began. Forgive us for pausing here, but before we close this chapter, let me ask you, if you were Emily, would you dare return to the stage again, even knowing you may never be the same? And do you believe that sometimes the people who save us are the ones we end up saving too? We want to hear what you think about this story. Was it powerful, emotional? Did it touch something in you? If you loved it, comment no 3 below. If it didn't quite land for you, write no 1. If you're in the middle, say no 2. And please tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget to like, drop a heart, and share this story with someone who still believes in second chances.